watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another episode of Nostalgic Gaming Stories. It has been a really fucking long time since I've done one of these, so I figured it was time to do one again. If for some reason the series title Nostalgic Gaming Stories doesn't give it away, here's where I tell nostalgic gaming stories.
Yes, I know, shocking.
Today I'll be telling one that I think we can all relate to. You know, when you're a kid, and you're told you're not allowed to play a specific game. And, of course, what do? You secretly play that game without your parents knowing. This was the case with Grand Theft Auto, because my mom really did not like Grand Theft Auto when I was a kid. At the time, the only Grand Theft Auto games that I played were GTA 3, GTA San Andreas, and GTA Vice City. Of course, I didn't actually own any of the games. I'd have to play them at Dozer Mac's house, because he had them all. And if you don't know, he's a few years older than me, so he'd be put in charge to babysit us, and when my parents would take off, he'd be the one who would pop out the games and let us play. So obviously we'd sneakily play them whenever he was in charge, and it was really fun. The biggest problem that my parents had with Grand Theft Auto were, number one, the language, because for some reason that was more important than the violence, was that it said fuck in the game. When I was a kid, that was a really big deal to my parents for whatever reason. Not so much now, but when I was younger, they cared a lot about that. It was ironic. I could watch really graphic, violent movies, but they couldn't have nudity, and they couldn't say fuck. Those two were deal breakers. But if they were really violent, no, it was totally fine. The other reason was because you could beat hookers to death in it, and she really didn't like that idea that you could beat up hookers. In fact, there's something I've noticed with GTA, is there's a lot of misconceptions that older people have about it that they think they know about the game that simply aren't true. For instance, I actually had a college professor that tried to tell me you could rape people in Grand Theft Auto, which you most certainly cannot, so I don't know what the fuck he was on about. The other thing is, I think a lot of these people don't even realize that a lot of the stuff you do in Grand Theft Auto is left open to choice. You don't have to just kill random people most of the time. There are missions that you have to kill people, and obviously, sometimes it's unavoidable to not have collateral damage or casualties, but ultimately, you're as evil as you want to be in those games. But you can't do some of the things some of these people thought you could do. They also believed you could torture people in them, which wasn't true until GTA 5, which had that waterboarding and torturing sequence with Trevor. In fact, the games didn't even have actual nudity in it until Grand Theft Auto 4. I mean, San Andreas had the hot coffee thing, but that was hidden in the code, and you had to mod it to get it. But when I played Grand Theft Auto as a kid, I didn't play the missions. In fact, I didn't even really know that there were any. I just walked around, killing people, stealing cars, and, spray painting stuff. I'd make up my own character backstories to what was going on and tell my own little story within the game, which is something I've done with many other games and something I talked about in other episodes of this series. It's funny to think how incorrectly I played games as a kid all the time, but at the same time, is there really an incorrect way to play a game if you're having fun? I'd say no, especially not with a game like Grand Theft Auto. I never did play the top-down older Grand Theft Auto games, although I did eventually own them. You see, when my dad got a replacement PS2 after ours broke, it came with Grand Theft Auto 1, 2, and Vice City. 1 and 2 had the top-down view. I think it also came with GTA London. Of course, he didn't want us to have those games, but I stashed them in a chemistry set that I had. And then that chemistry set went into storage, and I have no idea what happened to them, so I don't have those, and I never really played them. But Grand Theft Auto is a very fun series of video games, and there's a reason it's lasted as long as it has. Part of the fun of the game is just how big the world is to explore. All the myths that rise up around it. Add an extra layer of fun to it. You go exploring to try and find things that may or may not be in the games, and spoiler alert, usually they're not, but it's still fun to look. And Rockstar themselves have put in all sorts of references to these old myths, like putting Bigfoot in GTA 5 with that Franklin mission with the guy dressed as a Sasquatch, or putting actual Sasquatches in Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare. Rockstar is overall one of my favorite gaming companies because they've created a lot of great games. You got Grand Theft Auto, you got Bully, you got Manhunt, and you got Red Dead Redemption. What I would like to see is a Manhunt 3, but on the other hand, I'm also looking forward to any future installments in Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto. Red Dead 2 is really good, by the way. I've played a good chunk of it. I'm on the second settlement so far. It's a really good game, and if you haven't played it, definitely do. But yeah, like I said, I used to sneak and play this game in secret all the time when I was a kid. And me and my friends were actually really into the Big Smoke's Order thing way before the meme caught on. I mean, obviously, I think everybody was, which is why it became a meme, but we loved that shit. I used to actually pull up to drive-thrus at actual fast food places and do the Big Smoke's Order. Obviously, the meme would come out years later, but, as a teenager, I still loved it way before the meme ever caught on. San Andreas is probably my favorite Grand Theft Auto game. 5 is the only one I've actually beat the story mode of. And, obviously 5 is also probably the one that I've spent the most time in. But I do think San Andreas is probably my favorite overall. I do like 3 and Vice City a lot as well. They are nostalgic, but I haven't played them as much. I've also played a good chunk of Liberty City Stories, which is really fun. The only Grand Theft Auto game I haven't really liked that I've played, and this might be controversial, is Grand Theft Auto 4. Never really been the biggest fan of Grand Theft Auto 4. The driving's way too slidey, and I can't control it. They seem to rectify that in 5, so I was a lot happier with it. I might give 4 another chance someday, but overall, Grand Theft Auto is a great series, and I got into it at a very young age, and I'm sure most of us did. Obviously much younger than we were supposed to be playing it at. But anyway, that's just my Nostalgic Gaming Stories episode of today. Have a good one.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.